Welcome to Ford High School Weekly. I'm your host, Deion Imade. On today's show, we'll be meeting with Austin Chadwick, the owner and publisher of Vype magazine. Austin grew up in Tulsa, where he played for Union High School and went on to play for the University of Tulsa. Vype's Oklahoma Pigskin Preview is coming out here really soon, so we decided to check in with Austin to see what he has planned for us this year. Well, let's go ahead and check him out. But okay, now that you mentioned workout, as former athletes, we know how things work. So when we get together, we have to stretch and get warmed up. So what we do here is we do a little pregame, all right? We ask you some ice-breaking questions, let the viewers get to know you before we really get into the hard-hitting questions, all right?
Got it.
Cool with that?
I'm good. You know me. Fire away.
All right, so first question, all right? Heavy hitter here, okay? Movie category. You pick two, I pick two, and you choose one. One of the two. You can only choose one, Austin, all right?
Okay.
Top Gun or Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
You did some research now there.
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off was always kind of a novelty for me. But Jimmy Tramley, who's written for the Tulsa World for many years, he did an old piece on me when I was playing ball at Tulsa. And he knew I wanted to be a naval aviator because I took my trip to the Naval Academy, but I was a little too big to fit in just about any cockpit they had, and my eyesight was horrible, so I was not going to be a pilot. But with that being said, Top Gun, hands down, all day, every day. I'll take it over any category, anywhere. That is my favorite. I can quote that movie. I could quote it when I was in the third grade. That is my favorite movie.
All right, next question. All right, going back until this little generation that we have here. As far as social media goes, which platform do you like best? Is it Instagram or Twitter?
Ooh, that's a good one. Now, the younger kids, Instagram is a little bit better. I try to be all noble in my answering here because I'm like, well, I don't need to do all the selfie stuff. I don't need to like blast pictures of me out there. But I'm more of the news guy, and that's my go-to. That's where I get my news. That's where I get my sports. That's where I get to follow anything and everything, whether it's YurView and Cox or whether it's games of the week. Anything that goes on Twitter, that's where I'm able to get everything. Now our younger generation that's working here in the office, they've got Vype on Instagram and all the different platforms, and so we don't discriminate. We're going to use them all, but Twitter that's my go-to.
All right. I mean, I'm glad that y'all are on Instagram, though. I'm glad that the younger generation is keeping you up to speed.
Yeah, we don't have a choice, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, next question, last one. Okay, this is the heavy hitter right here.
Okay.
Think about it. 86 Celtics versus the 96 Bulls.
Oh,
who are you going with, Austin?
Man, you got to understand, Deion. You're closer to my age than you think, but 96 Bulls all day, every day. You know, and on the heels of the documentary with Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, people just don't understand how that guy was cut. He just cut different, and certain guys are like that. And the beauty with sports, and this is what I just love about it all, and you understand it because you lived it and played it. You have so much with all the different things that are going on with, with society right now and all the stuff that we're going through. I just love how it depicted the locker room. It depicted the relationships with all the players, no matter who they were, no matter what background, what creed, what anything. And it was kind of cool to see that. But all day, every day, I've got to pick Jordan. I mean, if that guy if he is determined and he has any kind of reason to win, he's going to win. And it does not matter. It was almost funny because as we were growing up, the Bulls were like losing games here and there in the finals. And you're like, why are they losing? And then now you see the documentary. It's like, yeah, they really weren't that interested. They really didn't have much to play for. But then after they got beat, a player on the other team would pop off to Jordan. It's like, all right, you ain't winning the next one. And so it was crazy to see that kind of competitive spirit. I think we need more of that. I know he took it to the line and maybe overstepped the line a couple times, but at the same time, the generation of kids nowadays, it's a rare breed to find those guys that will win at all costs. They will do anything they can for the team effort, and but it's just a good message to talk about where those kids who are developing and learning, especially in high school and in college, that they understand that, hey, you think you're working hard and you think you're putting out the effort to be better, make your team better, but no matter how hard you work, you look at the situation of what happened with the Chicago Bulls and the documentary on Michael Jordan, you got to take it to that degree. And so I just think it's really good for those guys to understand. And competition is everything. I mean, that's everything. And I think we need it right now. We haven't had any kind of athletics in a long time, and getting back to competition, getting back to just kids competing is it's going to be therapeutic for everybody. It really is, to get back to playing ball and football that we love, or basketball, or anything else.
Check out more from my conversation with Austin Chadwick at YurView.com/OK. After the break, Austin will tell us how he got started playing football and what it's meant to him in his life after his football career came to an end. Ford High School Weekly will be right back. Welcome back to Ford High School Weekly. We're talking to Austin Chadwick, owner and publisher of Vype Magazine. I want to ask you, start from the very beginning, all right? So you are a former Tulsa Golden Hurricane, and you played the sport that we both love, football. Why did you start playing this sport, and what has it meant to you growing up?
Well, it was funny. My father played for your alma mater, and he played in the '60s with Walt Garrison and those guys. He's part of those Phil Cutchin days at OSU, and so I grew up a massive OSU fan. My mom's family's from over there. They had Grooms Furniture over there for years, and so from that standpoint, football was always kind of the passion of our family. And but honestly, baseball was my love. I loved baseball. My grandmother was from Kentucky. It was Northern Kentucky. She would send me Cincinnati Enquirer articles all the time with the Cincinnati Reds. So I grew up a massive Reds fan and played competitive baseball growing up. And it was funny because I started kind of getting burned out in baseball when I hit about 13, 14 years old. And I always played football, obviously, and was pretty good at it. But I was getting bigger and I was getting stronger. And I started kind of, I don't know if I want to go to all these baseball games and practices. And Dad was okay with that. He was almost like, okay, now that we're kind of burned out on baseball, let's really start focusing on football. And we started doing that. And then you kind of, I always had love for football, but then it became life. I mean, football became everything. And so I grew up in Bill Blankenship's system at Union when they were really developing the INFC and all that stuff back in the 90s. And so I had a great group of guys. We all came up through the ranks together, tons of phenomenal athletes and guys that went all over the country to play. And we had a pretty special team, and football just became everything. And then it gave me an opportunity, obviously, to go on and play at the next level. And I loved it. And you show up and you're getting your school paid for, and you're getting your books paid for, and everything's is great there. But then you really start developing the competition in college. It's like you got to reset everything. You got to go earn your stripes and go do it again. And the next thing you know, you're competing again. And then it just became a part of life. And it taught me everything. Any attribute I have or intangible I have, whether it's hard work, drive, courage, determination, whatever it might be. I mean, everything from how I think to how I approach people, the inclusion that I have, the brothers that I played with that were brothers at arms, no matter what race, creed, color, it didn't matter. That's the beauty of football. And it's funny because I always say, not everybody gets the opportunity to do, Deion, what you and I got to do. And when you experience a locker room at especially at the D1 level, but at any college level, where guys are coming from all kinds of places and geographic places and backgrounds, you break down all barriers, and it changes guys forever. It really does. And so you're built different, you're programmed different in how you treat people. And then at the same time, being able to take all those intangibles you learn, get your degree and then go on and try to be successful in life and be a productive citizen, and do it the right way. That I owe everything to football. I owe it all to football. I tell my wife all the time, as our kids our little guys starting to play some football and understanding how it works and competition and how to treat people in fairness and all that stuff. And it's hard to explain. You understand it, but we can't say it enough that, especially with all the stuff that goes on in society, there's kind of a brotherhood there that if you've been through that fire, if you've been through those situations, with all kinds of diversity and the people that you grow and you develop and you become a man with, it changes you, and it changes really you're privileged in the sense that, you know, you're able to live your life, the rest of your life, and you have this in your DNA. It becomes a part of you, on how to treat people and how to respect people, and really go to battle with people, and love one another. And so again, when you talk about football, I owe it all to that, the coaches we had, and you're the same way. You understand it, you get it, and so it's a pretty special thing.
So how did the Vype magazine really get its start? We'll get the backstory from Austin when we come back. Check out the 4 Game of the Week Classic Tuesday and Friday nights at 8 p.m. on YurView Channel 3. And go to YurView.com/OK for more complete interviews and local high school sports coverage. Welcome back to Ford High School Weekly. We're talking to Vype magazine's owner and publisher, Austin Chadwick. Recruiting is so big nowadays and everything, and we want to talk to you about that and how Vype helps all these kids get more notoriety and looked at, especially with the Vype 100. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about the beginning of the magazine. How did that all get started?
Back in 2005, you know, I was a finance major at TU. I thought I was going to do interest rates and stocks the rest of my life, and so
me too.
I had a professor, Bill Hinkle, at TU. I took some marketing classes, and I would give presentations, and he's like, "You need to get out of finance. You need to be selling something someday." And you know, I got out of college. Mark Waddell called me from KWHB Channel 47. They used to do tape delay games back in the day, and I went to go be his analyst, his color guy. And so he would do play-by-play, I'd do color, and we would do these games, and it was great. And so I started understanding that, and then I started selling some sponsorships for it. And the next thing you know, we had tremendous success in doing that stuff and identifying high school sports, identifying communities with the high school brand, and being able to sell advertising. And then, you know, I had some guys that I knew pretty well, and they wanted to do this magazine. And this is back in 2005. And I didn't know anything. I was 24 years old. I didn't know how to manage people. I didn't know anything. Okay. I just knew how to sell, and I was ambitious, and I would work 60 hours a week. And that's how it started. It started as High School Sports Magazine. We did it for a couple of years. But we wanted to license it or franchise it out to other cities and make it a model. And Kevin Hearn came in and bought the original owners out. And Kevin Hearn's he's our congressman now in the 1st District of Oklahoma here in Tulsa. And I got to know Kevin. He was my business mentor. I got to work with him for about 3 years and really understood how to, you know, he's a McDonald's franchise owner. Well, operation-wise, he's incredible with business. He hires, fires, knows how to put operations and systems in place, and he taught me how to do that. And eventually it got to a situation where Kevin had other ventures he was getting into, and obviously politics, and he ended up selling me the company because I was the one operating it. And he was great at doing that. He gave me a chance to do it when I couldn't afford anything, right? And I was just mortgaging everything I had to buy the company from him. And that was back in 2010. And we had changed the name in that time to Vype, and got to a situation where we start putting out magazines and doing different regional magazines for all of Oklahoma. And then we started doing a football preview. And Mark Rogers, who now he and I do the Pigskin Preview together, you know, he's been doing the Pigskin Preview since 1996. I mean, so he's been doing it 23 years. And so at the time, he and I weren't affiliated, and it didn't take very long for him to give me a call and say, "Hey, let's do this together. I'm doing broadcasting. I'm doing other things down here with radio in Oklahoma City. I can't keep up with this thing because it's a massive overhaul every year." And so he and I started doing it together. And I think this is our 11th year to do it together. And so the Vype brand, if you will, Vype Oklahoma, is able to put out the Pigskin Preview every year. And so that's where it kind of all got started. But it's still the same thing, Deion. I mean, this time of year, we've been putting out questionnaires and getting coaches on the phone since back in May. And I will say this year was a little bit easier because coaches didn't have anything to do, right? It is a little bit harder because coaches don't know as much about their team because they didn't get a chance to go through spring practice and with all the COVID stuff going on. But this is the time of year where we're grinding, and we're writing capsules. We're putting everything together. We're putting our rankings together, our all Vype teams, our top 100 stuff together. And this is that time of year where you get after it pretty good. But then, hey, you can get off the press before the 4th of July, get these books back, and let everybody have their source, if you will, for high school sports and football in the summertime.
Next up, we'll talk to Austin about the effects of the pandemic on this year's Oklahoma Pigskin Preview. Check out YurView.com/OK for more Oklahoma high school sports content. You're watching Ford High School Weekly. Welcome back to Ford High School Weekly. We're talking to Austin Chadwick. So now with the pandemic and COVID-19 and everything taking place, how has it changed? I know you mentioned it's kind of easier getting in contact with coaches, but how has it changed things on the macro level for Vype and the magazine and what we're going to see this year?
Yeah, it's on the regular monthly reoccurring things with the magazine, as we're putting out magazines regionally in Oklahoma and content online at vypeok.com. We've got over 250 clients, advertisers in Oklahoma. And a lot of those are retail advertisers. And it's hard for them, obviously, if a car dealership isn't able to open for a good 60 days or, a restaurant or something like that. So we've had to work with them. And obviously that affects business. But at the same time, the difference is, and Deion, I went through the financial crisis in 08 and 09. And that was probably harder to deal with, just talking commerce, just talking running your business, because nobody knew when the bottom was going to drop out there. The confidence was very low, and it was harder to get things going again, economy wise. Now, with what's going on with COVID, it's almost like it's like a bump in the road. Economy's going pretty good, and this stuff happens, and it's like nobody's really afraid. Everybody fully expects the economy to get going again. So on the business side, we'll be able to bounce back pretty good if we lost anything. But from the logistics side, we've had to learn how to work remotely. We've had to learn how to figure things out sometimes. And on the ghost mail side of the business we have, when we deal with colleges all the time, they're much more versed at getting online and doing presentations through Zoom or some of the different ability or some of the different platforms to be able to do meetings and things like that. So obviously we've had to change. I mean, you got to adapt or die. I mean, that's just kind of how it works. But overall, I think, the one thing with high school coaches, the OSSA, I think, has done a pretty good job. They put out the plan. They know what they want to do. They know that we've got to be safe. Everybody understands that. But at the same time, there's been so much uncertainty. But you get in some of these communities, and I'll never forget, I was talking to a pretty predominant 6A coach last week, and he's like, it's just, we understand the precautions we got to take, and we got to keep kids safe. We got to keep families safe and our community safe, but we got to have football. We just got to have it. And that's a microcosm of the bigger picture in America. And he's like, we can heal a lot faster in some of the turmoil and stuff we're going through when we're able to rally around something that we all agree on and we all love. And that is competition, that's sports. And when it comes to the summertime and into the fall in the United States of America, that's football. And so with that being said, that's where I just thought that was very interesting. He just said, we just need it. We got to have it. And it'll help therapeutically for everybody.
What does the future for Vype look now? Going like 5 years from now, going into the future, what does the future for Vype look like?
I think properties a little bit we'll get into. My company, Trinity Media Group, which is the company of Vype, we recently just signed a deal with the OSSAA. We're basically taking on the multimedia rights for the OSSAA. We are like their Learfield. Anybody knows anything about college and Learfield and how those properties work? We're doing that for the OSSAA. And what it is lended to is the opportunity for us to really kind of model some of the stuff that we do, how we provide value to potential sponsors and things like that when it comes to leveraging the activities of the OSSAA, whether it's programs, signage. I mean, how it goes, radio, TV, all that stuff. And so, with that being said, we've got some of those components we can put together and maybe take it to some high schools and help some of the schools do the same things. I mean, we're loaded up with the resources of printers, and we're able to, whether it's ticket backs, whether it's posters, whether it's different things that high schools use and that they can monetize a little bit, help raise some money. I think that's probably the next thing we're going to work on when it comes over the next 5 years is taking the relationships we've built for decades now with these high school coaches and administrators and showing them how they can leverage some of the things they have to bring more money into the programs or into the athletic department or into the school in general. And so that's where I think we're going to go a little bit of that. We'll always be doing a magazine, We'll always be doing a pigskin preview. We'll be highlighting kids throughout the year online and in print. But there are some things that we can probably do properties wise over the next 5 years that'll help kind of change some things. So
when does the new magazine drop?
Mid-July. We'll drop it on mid-July. It's generally we get it back from the printers. It will be we'll send out pre-orders. You can go to vypeok.com and pre-order your copy. That means you're going to get it straight from the printer, so you probably get it before we even get it back. And so from there, it takes a few days, but we're going to get it out into on queues across all the areas. In the Tulsa area, we always go to Midwest Sporting Goods. Everybody's going in there to get their apparel for the year anyways, and so we made Midwest Sporting Goods kind of our exclusive place to go get it. And so people in Tulsa can just go over there and pick that up. And so we've got all different retailers across Oklahoma. But with COVID going on and people kind of doing their social distancing, the easiest way to do it is just do it by mail and get online at vypeok.com. You can order your copy and you're going to get it before anybody else. And so that's the best way to do it. Deion, I'll have your copy. I'll even sign it for you if you want me to. Wow. And make sure you get copies for your crew and your guys that you're going to do games with, and make sure everybody's taken care of over at Cox and YurView, and even some of your producer guys. We'll make sure you get. Yeah, I'll let you be the hero. You can just walk in with the magazine with everybody saying, "Hey, look,
make it rain.
Look what I got for you guys."
Well, I appreciate it, Austin, and thank you so much. I know we took up a lot of your time, but appreciate you doing this with us, and for everything that you guys do at Vype Magazine. We appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts from here at Cox YurView. So thank you, man. And
I appreciate it, buddy. You keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. Keep grinding, working hard, man.
I always look forward to Vype's Oklahoma Pigskin Preview. It's a good source of information on high school football. And I appreciate Austin for joining us and taking us behind the curtains a little bit to see how they put it all together. Make sure you go get your copy. Head to okvype.com and order yours now. Don't forget, send your workout videos to me at Deion Imade_28. We'll be happy to show folks how you're getting it done. Go to YurView.com/OK for complete interviews and more high school sports content. Thank you for watching Ford High School Weekly. I'm your host, Deion Imade, and until next time,